Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the 164forever.com Overeaters Anonymous 101 podcast for newcomers. I don't know what else you call it. I'm just calling it the 101 podcast for newcomers right now.
I like it.
My name is Carol. I'm a recovered compulsive overeater, and I'm here with Rebecca A. You want to say hi, Rebecca?
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca A., compulsive overeater from London in the UK.
And Steve V.
That's right. And I'm Steve, and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater from Pennsylvania. Grateful to be here.
Awesome. We just thought it would be fun to sit down and talk today to newcomers to Overeaters Anonymous, and go over some of the most frequently asked questions that we've seen in the rooms, and maybe just share some of our own experience, strength, hope, and perspectives. I'm going to start by saying that we're just compulsive eaters who found a solution. We happen to go to Overeaters Anonymous. I think there's 100 and something 12-step food programs out there. And we got recovered by working the 12 steps as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We don't represent OA as a whole. We're not speaking for any intergroup or any specific meeting. We're just a couple of fellows in a program who happened to have computers and thought it might be fun to record ourselves and put it out there. And maybe it would be of use to someone out there on the internet who has a problem with compulsive eating. I know for myself, I can get up to nearly 300 pounds, and I was just eating day in and day out, and I just didn't know where to go. And I was so grateful a friend had suggested that I go to Overeaters Anonymous, and I had come from other food programs that I just didn't hear what I had heard in the Big Book Recovery that I see in OA. Did anyone else want to touch base on where they came from?
Yeah, I started OA back in 1990. I was 5 years sober in AA, and and I knew that my weight was a problem, and somebody suggested OA, and I started going, and the first thing I thought was, what the heck are these women going to teach me? But I hung out in there, and I just kept hanging around, and I also went through a number of food programs. I have had a mild heart attack. I've had heart surgery, and now I'm back again because this is the last stop for me. None of the diet programs that I tried worked. This is the last stop for me. I went through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous with a sponsor, went through the steps, and now I really am recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body.
Absolutely. I echo what you both said. This was the last house on the block for me also. I was lucky enough to have an Ebby in my life, my partners in the other fellowship, as we call it. But I had no idea I was an addict. I had no idea that this really existed. I had no idea how powerless I was until I came into the rooms and I started to hear my story. But yeah, I too had tried every diet under the sun, every attempt to control my weight, but going up and down, and I had had enough. I came in on my knees, and this program gave me a new life. And for that, I am truly, truly grateful. But yeah, so here we are.
This is like a 101, like a beginner's meeting. So if you're new to the program or considering going to some meetings, we're going to cover some basics. Like, why don't we start with the Serenity Prayer, which is something you're going to hear a lot if you go to meetings. So you're going to hear everyone's going to say, we'll take a moment of silence, which we will do, and then I'll say the Serenity Prayer together. And you can join us if you're listening. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And you're going to hear that a lot because that's a reminder to all of us compulsive eaters and addicts everywhere that we're not in control of our own lives or the lives of others. And I think it just kind of centers a lot of us and reminds us where we are. Although sometimes I know we say it by rote, like it just kind of comes out of your mouth. But I always try to pause and really mean it. I don't know. How do you guys?
If I can add this, as we just said, now, like you said, I've heard this. I've said and heard this prayer tens of thousands of times, and just now it dawned on me. The 11th step asks for, and I know this is a beginner thing, but it just came to me. The 11th step says that we ask God for His will throughout the day. And I just thought, what better things can I go into a day with than courage, serenity, and wisdom? I mean, just what an amazing set of tools to have to get through my day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And it reminds us, I had written down, it reminds us to let God show us where she, he, they, whatever you've got, would like us to go, who God would like us to talk to, and hopefully what God would like us to say. And then hopefully, now and then those words fall upon willing ears who, want to hear them.
Mhm.
So we're going to start with the real basics here, and we're going to record hopefully more than one podcast if it goes well, and cover some other things. But right now I just wanted to talk, I think like the biggest resource for a newcomer is you're going to want to go to OA.org. And again, we don't represent Overeaters Anonymous, but I don't see how you can recover, especially in this post-pandemic era, without visiting OA.org. They have a bookstore there where you can find OA approved literature at very reasonable prices, I should add. They have a red find a meeting button on the homepage. You just click it, and then you just fill out the form. You tell it what your time zone is. If you're looking for a specific kind of a men's meeting, a women's meeting, 100-pounder meeting, a relapse to recovery meeting, a topic about tools, the 9 tools of OA, the big book, the 12 steps, the traditions, there are many, many topics in there. Or you can just, click it, put your time zone, and it'll tell you a list of all the meetings coming up the rest of the day. So you'll be able to pick a meeting, at least the meetings that are registered with OA.org. That is to say. And next to the red find a meeting button, you're going to see a little menu icon that you can open up, and there's all kinds of useful stuff in that little menu. It has like a get started link, program basics. You'll see podcasts and videos. There's a treasure trove of information in there. You'll find a link to all of this in the description below the video that we're going to post to YouTube, which is where we're kind of starting out with this. I'll put a link to OA.org and also links to anything else we mention. I'm going to make sure to put it in the down below. And then, so when you get to that website, in the OA meetings, we read OA approved literature only. And that's what you're going to find in the OA.org bookstore, OA approved literature. And I'm going to let Rebecca talk a little bit more about the literature, because there's a lot of literature in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like Carol has just mentioned, it's always really useful if you could get the literature from OA.org as opposed to from Amazon or somewhere else, just because the money goes back into the fellowship and we are self-supporting. So there's no sponsor to OA. We just we contribute ourselves and we carry it on ourselves as per our traditions. So if you can get it from OA.org, or if you have a local OA bookstore, like in the UK, we have the OA.GB bookstore, do purchase it through that. But that being said, try and get hold of OA literature. And I guess the first place to start with is where the 12 steps came from. So the book we call Alcoholics Anonymous, or we nickname it the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So yeah, get yourself the AA Big Book. That would be amazing. We also have literature which refers to food and talks about our disease specifically. So the OA 12 and 12, I think it's called Overeaters Anonymous, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, but we shorten it to OA 12 and 12. That is a great book to start with. It's divided up step by step and tradition by tradition, and fantastic place to start. And then we also have these little books, these daily readers, which give you just like a nugget of some wisdom, some courage, some experience that you can read every single day of the year. And they are fantastic, and they're a great way to kind of ground yourself in what is your new journey of recovery. So yeah, do get yourself some literature, and don't be afraid to ask people, hey, what books are you reading? Because people are full of great suggestions, and there's so much good stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and there is a lot of literature too that is not OA approved. I say any spiritual books and stuff. We won't get into them in this podcast, but anything that helps you grow your relationship with your higher power, definitely pick it up. You'll hear lots of there are a lot of 12-step books you'll find online, and even Overeaters Anonymous books you'll find online that are not OA approved. They're written by people who are in OA. And they're all great, but we're going to just stick to the stuff you'll see in program. And Steve is going to tell us about another very useful tool that many of us use and have even found each other on, which is WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp, guys.
Here it is. WhatsApp. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Rebecca, for your talks. And the weird thing about WhatsApp is I hated that app. Before I came to OA, I couldn't stand it. I just, everything was spam, and some woman's trying to sell me something, and some guy's trying to sell me something else. And, but I have this theory that whenever I turn something over to my higher power, when it comes back to me touched with grace. And so I turned over WhatsApp to my higher power, and it came back to me touched with grace. And it was the grace of OA and the grace of all these wonderful people that are on there. And, so what are you going to get with WhatsApp? You get all these amazing group chats, and you get inspirational pictures, and you get, different prayers, and you get all this amazing stuff that reminds you that you're not alone at this. You're not alone here. And that to me is the biggest positive about WhatsApp. It continually reminds me I'm not alone. Now, as Carol likes to say, you're going to get a lot of notifications. So turn off those notifications if you don't want to be awake in 2 a.m, because, it's folks from around the world. So the people in the UK, like my friend Rebecca there, she's 5 hours ahead of me. So if she's asleep and I'm texting away in WhatsApp and her notifications are on, she's going to get a lot of notifications. But it's so great because there is so much information that's available, so much support that's available, so much love. I reach out to people and I get instant love. It's the thing I've been fighting for all my life. How can I get instant love? And that's where I get it. I get instant support and I get instant love. And I get people who call me out on my stuff. And it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, WhatsApp is great, and I'll put a link. So it's an app. So meaning you download it to your phone, it syncs with your phone number, and then there are many groups for Overeaters Anonymous. Different intergroups have them. We belong to some, and there's like 400 people in a group, and they're all over the world. So yeah, like Steve said, you're gonna want to go and the controls are on your phone, even though there is a desktop WhatsApp browser that you can also download, which makes it easier for me to cut and paste information in and out onto the computer, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the desktop browser. But again, this app is not affiliated with Overeaters Anonymous. It just seems to be an app that a lot of people have used to connect, and we share meetings that we're going to and stuff like that. So I will post links to a couple of WhatsApp groups in the information box below, and if you want to give that a try, and if you're not sure how it works, just go to YouTube and look at a tutorial like what's that, what is WhatsApp, and how do I use it. And there's many videos. I've watched them, I send them to people, and it'll explain to you exactly what the function of it is. And then you just kind of get plugged into a world where you can, and there's 10-step groups, stuff like that to a newcomer may not make sense, but as you get further in the steps, you're going to find that 10-step group very useful. Because you might be up in the middle of the night, really freaked out about something, and somewhere else in Hawaii or Greece or China or Australia or New Zealand, someone is away. Yeah,
I got somebody from Slovenia.
Yeah, I spoke to her too. I assume it's the same one. But yeah, so even in the middle of the night, for those people who are night eaters, you can reach out and someone will say, I'm here, and you're like, wow, I can't believe it. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about, go ahead. What, Rebecca?
No, I was just going to say it's amazing. And like, if for nothing else, the fact that you get meetings, people post great meetings and workshops that are on, just to know what's going on and you don't miss out on something that's going to be a real turning point in your recovery, it's worth being on them, just for being informed.
Yeah, the workshops. Yeah, one of my fellows said if she goes every Thursday and types into Google what OA workshops are happening this weekend, and they just come up, and then she'll start sharing them in the WhatsApp group. So that's good. So we're gonna, it's very useful. So we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the questions we've heard. We're probably not going to get to all these questions because we wanted to keep this to a fairly short podcast. At least this episode, as it were. But some of the things that we hear a lot of are, let's start with, what is a 12-step program, right? I grew up with alcoholism all over my family, so I couldn't believe somebody didn't know what a 12-step program is. But some people are fortunate enough to not have uncles, aunts, and parents and grandparents in Alcoholics Anonymous. So how would you guys, Rebecca, how would you describe a 12-step program to somebody who has never heard of one before?
Absolutely. So yeah, a 12-step program is something that people do when they need to get recovery, or they think they might need to get recovery. And essentially, the 12 steps are a way that we can build a relationship with a power that can help us get over whatever addiction that we have, be it alcohol, be it food, be it sex and love, be it crazy people, be it spending, whatever. The 12 steps are a system that came from that big book that we call Alcoholics Anonymous. And it broke down how we could try and get over it, really, and how we could live a peaceful life without that substance or without that process. And I mean, I guess there's been many times when people have decided to kick the habit, whatever it was, but it's about being able to do it peacefully and your life kind of opening up as well. Because we all probably can recognize dry drunks, and they're not drinking anymore, they're not eating anymore, they're not drugging anymore, but they're kind of like bitter and they suck.
They're pissed off.
Yeah, all the time.
Boy, are they pissed.
Exactly.
Cranky,
and you don't even want to be
grumpy.
around them. Yeah. So it's a way through 12 different steps that we will describe. It's a way of getting recovery and your life opening up. And the beauty about it is there's no dogma. It's not set. It's about you on a journey and what can support you and what you can understand. So that's really beautiful. It's not like religious. It doesn't have to be about a particular dogma, or if you grew up Christian or you grew up Jewish or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be about anything in particular. It's about you and your journey, which is super powerful in our experience, I guess. But yeah.
Great. Steve, how would you describe a 12-step program?
I don't know if I can add anything to that. That was an incredible description. I love that. And I love, Rebecca, how you kept saying it's about you and your journey. And, what I find is, we say it's a we program because the united version of us is what helps us to stay recovered, but it's an individual recovery, right? So what I need for my recovery may not be what someone else needs in their recovery. Someone may need other things that are outside the realm of what we do in OA or another 12-step group. So, but yes, it's a method by which, to me, I gain a spiritual awakening into my own life and how I can bring that to others.
Agreed. Yeah, very big. It starts on, I believe, the first page of the doctor's opinion and talks about working with others, which is why we're here right now talking, is that we need to always, if we want to be granted a daily reprieve from our obsession with food, we need to work with others and help carry the message forward. And I am a ding dong. I just do what my sponsor told me to do and what it says in the big book. And, I'll say you're going to hear a lot of stuff in any 12-step program. You're going to hear a lot of stuff. And the smart people will tell you and I say this to my sponsees, if I tell you something and it's not in the big book and you don't like it, disregard. I'm just a human talking, but you're going to hear a lot of opinions. And so I always just hold it up to the big book. If I can't find that person's opinion in the big book and it doesn't ring true to me, then I kind of, I don't know. I let my higher power decide what's right for me. But yeah, exactly. So the 12 steps come from a group called the Oxford Group, and they were a religious organization, very Christian, and they really wanted to convert people to Christianity. And thankfully, Bill W., the first alcoholic who started all this, he had gone to the Oxford Group, and he was like, this is great. This is great. But he wasn't so much a Christian, and he really wanted to help alcoholics. And so thankfully he branched off and started Alcoholics Anonymous, because where is the Oxford Group now? This great information would be lost to us all today if he hadn't started Alcoholics Anonymous. And then they're really geared toward, in the Oxford Group, there were the 4 impediments to God, right? We've all heard of them, which is, I should have written them down, but a secret we won't tell, right? Oh gosh, now you guys have
resentment,
a resentment
we won't make.
Yeah.
a resentment we won't let go of.
Yeah.
A secret we won't tell.
A restitution we won't make. A resentment we won't
let go of.
And a vicarious thrill.
And a vicarious thrill.
Right. And a vicarious thrill.
There
that
it is. There's the we
up.
program right here. You just
exactly. I should have written that
it.
down. But yeah, exactly. But yeah, so there are these things that kind of clog our channel to God, a higher power, whatever it is. And there's, believe me, a ton of atheists in this program. So many atheists. So if you're sitting here going, I hate these God people, that's fine. We hated us too. So it's not a big deal. Like truly, I tried to explain, I was telling someone, I was trying to explain a higher power to my boyfriend, who is an atheist too. And we were in traffic, and I said, so for you, it could just be the flow of life. Since you're an atheist, it doesn't have to be a God entity like an angel or a spiritual being. But like, I think we can both agree that if I slam this car in reverse and hit the gas pedal, I'm going to hit someone. If I hit drive, I'm going to hit someone. If I try to go to the left or right, I'm going to hit someone. I'm stuck on the 405 freeway. I'm going with the flow of traffic. And so right now, this is my higher power, is this: I need to go about 16 miles an hour. And that's how I'm going to not avoid a crash, avoid crashing into somebody else, ruining everybody's day. And that to me kind of describes, like, you just kind of learn to go with the flow of life, because the flow of life is definitely a power greater than me. If I'm trying to tell my kids or my mom or other people how they need to be and they need to behave, well, I'm going to be constantly frustrated, constantly bumping up against other people, and constantly in resentment. And I'm never going to be able to get that peace that I need so much to, like, sit here and focus and work with somebody else. So so yeah, so it's really, these steps are just designed to clear away all that gunk that rattles around in our brains that keeps us from thinking about God and being of service to other people. But I think Rebecca pretty much said it perfectly. Yeah. So Steve, how do I know if I'm a compulsive eater, Steve? What would you say to a newcomer?
So according to our textbook, which we follow, it says very clearly, if when you honestly want to, you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking, and we substitute eating, of course, you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic, or in our case, a compulsive overeater. Because that's the thing, right? It's like, I'm not able to stop on my own. And I have no power over not starting. You know, when that twist hits me, and all of a sudden the solution to my emotional problem is 4 slices of pizza topped off with ice cream, and then maybe, you know, with the sprinkles, of course. And, you know, when that's my solution, then I'm probably a compulsive overeater. When food becomes my comfort, my lover, my answer to every emotional problem I have, I'm probably a compulsive overeater.
How about you, Rebecca? What would you add to that?
Yeah, that's beautiful, Steve. Like, yeah, absolutely. It's that I don't know what's going to happen once I start, and I can't control when I'm going to stop. it's that level of powerlessness that makes me know that I'm a compulsive overeater. It's when I truly, truly want to stop, when the doctors told me, and now I'm telling myself, and my family's told me, and I've cried, and I've said, I don't want to do this anymore. And yet I still do it. That's how you know. And there's a couple of tests that it refers to in the big book. One of them, the safe one, is try and put down your particular binge foods that you really love. Try and keep off them for a year. See if you can do it. If I tried to do that, I wouldn't be able to last more than probably a week. And that is how you know.
Yep.
The other way around is try and start having pizza or whatever. And then just like after 2 bites, put it down and try and pretend that you're not going to be staring it out and wanting it for the next hour, for the next rest of your life, because you would. And that's another test. Absolutely. Also, there is, I think it's, I don't have my big book with me, but I think it's one of the stories at the back, and it's referring to younger people. And it's basically saying that perhaps we haven't got there yet, but can you predict that you were going to get to that point? And I couldn't predict how it was going to be like with my eating, and I didn't want to roll the dice anymore. And that's how I knew.
Yeah. There's someone, I don't even remember where I heard it. I'm just going to start saying a fellow once said, because that pretty much covers it. But someone was saying, like, can you imagine, like, let's say you're subscribed to the Los Angeles Times or New York Times or the London Times, whatever it is. And you say, you know what, I don't want to get this paper anymore. So you unsubscribe. And then an hour later you call and go, no, I'm sorry, I want to get the paper, send the paper back. You know what I mean? That's kind of like addiction, is like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to do this to myself anymore. And then like an hour later, I'm like, no, God, I do want it. And there's a million things in my life. And you guys said it perfectly. The big book says that if you can't stop from picking, like, if you can have a tray of cookies sit on your kitchen table for like 2 weeks and you don't touch them, God bless you. They would be gone in day one. Like, I think of, I have a 2-year-old, so he watches these videos on YouTube, and there's a song about yucky food. And I think it all sounds amazing. It's like, do you like donuts? Yes. Do you like juice? Yes. Would you like donut juice? And then the song goes, no. And I go, yes, I want donut juice. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Donut juice sounds like the greatest juice ever. Yeah. Another one is, do you like popcorn? Do you like pizza? But you wouldn't want popcorn pizza. And I'm like, yeah, like,
why not? Why not? What do you mean? Where's popcorn pizza been all my life?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? So whenever I hear that song, it just makes me laugh.
That is awesome.
Like, I might be a compulsive eater. And like, another thing is, I was talking with my sponsee. Donut juice does sound amazing, right? But I was talking to my sponsee this morning, and I was saying, like, how many times have I overeaten something I don't even like? Right? Sure, we all agree, right? Everyone can agree. Like, almost everyone agrees on, like, the pizza, the cookie, the candies, the this, the that. But like, I've eaten things I don't like just to get full, just because I wanted to get that. Like, I'm an alcoholic. I think it's in which one is it? Virginia Woolf, where he talks about, he drinks till that click in his head. Well, I'm eating till something, that click, and that click is like, I've probably eaten a bunch of food and puked and then eaten again, and now I'm just so full, I'm like in a friggin' cloud and a fog, and I'm eating to that click. So you can identify any way you want, like, but if you want donut juice, you might be a compulsive eater. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And popcorn pizza.
And popcorn pizza.
And it's fair to say that, like, it doesn't have to be, I think sometimes I thought that maybe I didn't binge every time. So maybe I wasn't. But the thing is, if I knew I could get away with it, I would. It was only willpower that stopped me from binging every single time. It was
Right.
most of the time. And that was, yeah, that's enough.
That's an important point, Rebecca, because not everybody in Compulsive Eaters Anonymous or Overeaters Anonymous is overweight. Some of us
Right.
are anorexic or bulimic and they
Right.
control their weight. And I was talking to a fellow who's anorexic the other day, and she said, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm cheating because I'm in here, and you know, and I said, I know, but look, you may not binge every day like us, but if you can't predict when the next binge is going to hit, like sometimes my eating is like a storm, you know, before
Mhm.
we had Doppler radar where they tell you it's coming. But like it would just it just would hit her, and there would be times where she didn't know it, but she was going to like eat her friggin' brains out, and then she was of course going to starve herself. That's how she hides her compulsive eating, is by starving herself or working out or puking or taking laxatives. So even if you're not 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 or 2 or 5, I mean, there's people in our program that we all know personally who have lost 500 pounds. So
Exactly.
even if you're not overweight, if you just can't predict when you're going to binge, how long that binge is going to last, when it's going to end, that is also another good indication. You know, you don't have to be fat. There's many people in the rooms who are not fat and overweight. They run, we fill the spectrum. It's all over
That's
the
right.
place.
Carol, I got one more piece to that. And
Yeah.
that is because the problem centers in the mind. If after I've eaten and and I've done all my exercise and everything, if I'm still thinking of food rather than living my life,
Yeah.
if food is dominating, if I'm picking my restaurants based on, where am I going to get the biggest serving? If I'm, picking my parties based on, who's got the best servings? If I'm picking my friends based on, who can I be with that I know won't judge me because we could be talking about food.
Yeah.
And I'm probably a compulsive overeater because my mind is, when I'm not eating, I'm thinking about eating.
Yeah. Binge buddies.
Yeah.
A binge
Binge
buddy.
buddies.
Yeah. My sponsor used to pick her babysitting jobs based on the pantries.
I love it. I love it.
So with that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode because we're at about 30 minutes. I think we're over 30 minutes, but we're going to keep it kind of brief. And I just wanted to end with reading page 17, which is chapter 2, There is a Solution. And I don't know, this is a great, just for beginners, it kind of describes how we came together. So it's chapter 2, There is a Solution. We of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as Bill. Nearly all have recovered. They have solved the drink problem. We are average Americans. All sections of the country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds. We are people who normally would not mix, but there exists amongst us a fellowship, a friendliness, and an understanding which is indescribably wonderful. We are like the passengers of a great liner the moment after rescue from shipwreck, when camaraderie and joyousness and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Unlike the feeling of the ship's passengers, however, our joy in escape from disaster does not subside as we go our individual ways. The feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us, but that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the greatest news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism or compulsive eating, as it were. Is that, and that's what I love too, is I like to find the meetings where we're all sharing on the solution, where I don't hear a bunch of people relating through the problem, but relating because they have all found a similar solution. Those are my favorite meetings to stick to. And I think we're going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you so much for joining us on Overeaters Anonymous 101 for newcomers. I'd like to thank Steve V and Rebecca A for joining me. My name is Carol A. Please subscribe if you liked anything you heard today. And don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to put our email address in the description below, and we would love to hear from you.